Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So here we are again, we're at the end of the month, so that can only mean one thing. Yep, it's pickups time. So yeah, I will show you everything that I have picked up for the month of March 2022. So the first movie I've got here is a movie called A Bronx Tale. So yeah, this is a movie kind of about a young boy who lives in an area of New York which is kind of dominated by the local gangsters. And he lives with his father, played by Robert De Niro, who is a very hard-working, honest individual who doesn't really want anything to do with the gangsters that live nearby. But it also stars Chaz Palminteri, who plays the local bigwig gangster. And this young boy is he's kind of drawn to the gangster life because he sees them around and he sees what they get up to on a daily basis. But at the same time, he wants to kind of keep away from that and follow the example of his father. And we also have the father, played by Robert De Niro, who wants to keep his son out of trouble and away from that gangster life. If you're expecting something like Goodfellas or Casino, you might be a little bit disappointed in it. It's more of like a human character sort of drama, but still a really good film. The performances in it are really good. The story's pretty heartfelt and quite moving in places. And the direction by Robert De Niro himself is really, really solid, really assured. And yeah, it's just a really, really enjoyable film and I would definitely recommend it. Next Blu-ray I've got is Corpse Bride, directed by Tim Burton. So yeah, this is probably one of the better Tim Burton movies of the more recent years. Up until about Sleepy Hollow, I just thought all of his movies were great. But then from Planet of the Apes onwards, he's kind of a bit hit and miss for me. But I do think this movie is one of his better ones of the more modern Tim Burton era. Great animation, really fun story, got that great gothic tone, the Danny Elfman score, and it's a very short movie as well. You can kind of be over and done with it very quickly. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And I'm really happy to finally have it in the collection. But yeah, that is Corpse Bride. Next movie I've got here is a movie called Enemy, directed by Denis Villeneuve. I think that's how you pronounce it. And yet he is probably best known for doing things like Sicario, Arrival, the latest Blade Runner sequel, and of course the recent Dune movie that we've got. And yeah, I think he's a fantastic director and I'm really enjoying pretty much all the movies he's making at the moment. I wasn't massive on the Dune film, but I feel like I maybe just need to give it a rewatch or perhaps wait until the second movie comes out. But yeah, this movie is one of his earliest films. And I've been looking for it for a while and I managed to track it down in CEX for a pretty decent price. But yeah, this movie basically stars Jake Gyllenhaal, who kind of lives a pretty normal, steady life. But one day he becomes aware of this person who looks exactly like him, who is basically his doppelganger, and he's like a big movie star. And he suddenly becomes obsessed with this guy, as you would, and goes out to track him down. And when the two of them meet, it forms this kind of unbalance in their lives. I can't really say much more than that. It's got a very sort of psychological Cronenberg kind of tone to it. There's a bit of a sci-fi element. If you're not a fan of spiders, you might need to tread carefully with this movie. There are a few surprising scenes, let's say. But yeah, I was drawn to this movie because of the director and because of the sort of the Cronenberg, maybe even David Lynch kind of tone that this movie has. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a really enjoyable film. Next one I've got here is a movie called Highrise. So this is a movie directed by a guy called Ben Wheatley, and I remember seeing this movie when it first came out, and I was pretty much blown away by it. I feel like it kind of went under the radar, but I thought it was a fantastic film, and I'm really happy to pick it up now. It's basically about this high-rise complex that is built in London during the 1970s, and all of the people that live in this high-rise complex, they're kind of split by class. So you have all the rich people who live near the top, and you have the poorer people living near the bottom of the building. This building basically has everything that you could ever want. So it has like supermarkets, it has other sorts of shops, a gymnasium, schools, all sorts of entertainment. And because of all these amenities that it has, the people within the building don't really have much of a reason to go outside. And they're kind of just consumed by this building, let's say. And as the film goes on, the tensions and the class differences and the sanity of the residents kind of escalates, and chaos essentially ensues as it goes on. I can't really say much more than that. It's such an interesting movie, and definitely worth watching if you want to try something a bit more challenging. It also reminds me a lot of Clockwork Orange. Obviously Clockwork Orange it came out in the 70s, but it was set in the future, and this has a very sort of futuristic tone as well, but being set in the 70s. And it looks very similar to Clockwork Orange, and even the themes in it are very similar as well. But yeah, I think it's a really, really underrated British movie and definitely worth checking out. Next movie I've got here is another by the same director, Ben Wheatley, and it is his most recent film, and it's a film called In the Earth. It's basically about a group of scientists who venture out to this forest somewhere near Bristol in the UK, I believe, and they go there sort of basically just to conduct some experiments. But as they go further in, they kind of start to realize that there's maybe some kind of force within the forest that is kind of slowly consuming them, and that the forest may in fact be alive. It's a very bizarre movie. It's not one of those, it's not a very conventional horror movie, so if you're after something like that, this may be a bit of a disappointment. But again, like Highrise, if you want something that's maybe a little bit different, maybe a bit more challenging, you might enjoy it. It's certainly an experience. I did enjoy it for what it was. It's probably going to need another rewatch for me, but at the moment, I thought it was pretty decent. But yeah, that is In the Earth. Next up, we've got The Men Who Stare at Goats. And yeah, I remember this movie coming out and always thinking it was a Coen Brothers movie. Obviously, I think the poster art looks very Coen Brothers, and we've got George Clooney in there, who just kind of seems to appear in every Coen Brothers film these days. But yeah, this is an interesting film. It's basically about a reporter, a journalist played by Ewan McGregor, who is looking for the next big story, and he meets George Clooney's character, who tells him that the army basically has this secret that they're conducting experiments with regards to psychic powers and things like that. It's an interesting film. It's quite funny in places, a bit offbeat and weird at times, but it's got a great cast. And it was actually my girlfriend Zoe who wanted me to pick this up because it's based on a novel by a guy called John Ronson, who is quite a well-known journalist / writer in the UK, and a lot of his stories are kind of based on these kinds of conspiracies and things like that. I think it's worth a go. I didn't think it was amazing, but it is quite funny in places, and yeah, it's got that great cast as well. But yeah, that is The Men Who Stare at Goats. Next up, we have Pig, starring Nicolas Cage. So yeah, I remember seeing this movie sometime last year, and for me, this is probably one of the best movies that we got from last year. Just a fantastic movie, and when I picked it up on Blu-ray and watched it that second time, it was even better second time round. Basically about Nicolas Cage's character, who is a truffle farmer. He has a pet pig. The pig gets kidnapped or pignapped at the beginning of the movie, and he basically goes out to get it back. I think a lot of people expect this movie to be something like John Wick, but not really the case at all. It's more of a slow burn, again, a sort of a more character-driven human drama. I think it's fantastic, and it's got a brilliant performance by Nicolas Cage. For me, it's his best performance in years. And I just think it's a great film, and that ending, I don't really want to spoil it, but that ending is just so powerful, and yeah, I think it's brilliant. And yeah, I loved this movie on second watch, and I feel like when I watch it again, I'll love it even more. I just think it's fantastic. But yeah, that is Pig. Next up, we have the Evil Dead 2013 remake. So yeah, I remember seeing this at the time when it came out, and I wasn't really that big on it. I'm just such a huge fan of the Sam Raimi movies. I love the comedy aspects. I like the over-the-top nature of these movies. And I think this one was just a bit too dark and a bit too serious for me. But I wanted to give it another go because I know this movie does have a lot of fans. So on rewatch, I'm still not the biggest fan of this movie, but I can appreciate it on some level. It is visually very, very good. There's some very creepy moments, some very creepy visuals, and the gore, my goodness, the gore is very extreme, very disgusting in places, but if you can handle it, you'll probably have a good time with it. Like I say, I do think it's an enjoyable movie, but for me, it'll probably always be the Raimi films, but it's still worth checking out. Next up, we've got a double bill, and it is the Raid movies. So we've got the Raid and the Raid 2. I remember seeing the first one probably back when I was in university, and I remember really enjoying it. It's a really fast-paced, enjoyable action movie. Great fight scenes in it. It's got a bit of a limited budget, but it still works pretty well. I'd never seen the Raid 2, but I have to say, when watching this, I absolutely loved it. For me, it takes everything that was great about the first one and just builds on it. The action scenes are better. It's got a better budget to work with. It's got a more engrossing story. I know some people might be put off at the length of this movie because compared to the first one, which is I think only about 100 minutes, this one is about 150 minutes, so about 2.5 hours we're talking. But I just thought it was fantastic, and it didn't feel at all that long. It just flew by, and it's probably one of the best action films I've ever seen. But like I say, I still really enjoy the first one. But yeah, if you like your action movies, definitely check out The Raid 1 and 2. I picked this next one up in HMV because it was $4.99 with any purchase. We are, of course, getting a sequel to it in the next few weeks. And I had never seen this movie and I wanted to check it out. But it is, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog. I was never the biggest fan of Sonic as a kid. I was more of a Mario fan. I never really owned a Sega, so I never really had much of a chance to play the Sonic games. But I'd heard a lot of great things from people about this movie, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, some funny moments, some good special effects, good action scenes, and it's really good to see Jim Carrey kind of seeming like himself again. I feel like for the last few years, the movies he's done haven't really worked that well, and I know he's had like issues with his personal life over the last few years, but it's just really good to see him kind of back to the way he was. If anything, he's not in this movie enough, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel now, and I'm hoping we will see a lot more of him in that film. But yeah, that is Sonic the Hedgehog. Next movie I picked up is a movie from the Second Sight sale, and it's a movie called Ghost Story. So yeah, this is a movie that came out in 1981, and it's basically about a group of elderly gentlemen who get together every so often over brandy and cigars, and they basically regale ghost stories to each other. But when one of the members' sons ends up dead after apparently seeing a ghostly apparition of a woman, the members kind of realise that this woman is someone from their past, and they kind of have to uncover this deep dark secret from their past. It's a really, really enjoyable horror movie, some very creepy moments, really great atmosphere. The story is a little bit messy, and it kind of jumps between like past and present a lot, and it probably could have been handled better, but overall it's still a really enjoyable horror movie. And it's got people like Fred Astaire in there, and we've got John Houseman, who to horror fans, he's probably best known for being in that beginning scene of John Carpenter's The Fog. But yeah, it's just a really, really enjoyable horror movie. Not perfect by any stretch, but still a good one at that. Next up, we have an Arrow release, and I picked this one up mainly for its star, but it's a movie called Blind Woman's Curse, starring Meiko Kaji. I just think she's absolutely fantastic. She's in movies like the Stray Cat Rock series, the Female Scorpion Prisoner movies, and a whole host of others. And yeah, I thought this movie was okay. I was maybe a little bit disappointed in it. She basically stars as a woman who is in this clan, and at the beginning of the movie, they battle with another rival clan, and she wounds one of the leading members from this clan, and that person that she wounds basically swears revenge and goes after them. And yeah, I thought the movie was okay. It's got a few good battle scenes, some good like fight scenes, but overall, it wasn't one of my favorites. Like I said, I picked it up mainly for the star because I just think she's fantastic. If you're a fan of her movies, I'd definitely recommend it. But yeah, that is Blind Woman's Curse. Next up, we have another Arrow release, and it's a movie called Eric the Conqueror. So this is a movie that I picked up mainly for its director, that being Mario Bava, a very well-known Italian director who is probably seen as a bit of a pioneer in the horror genre, especially the giallo genre. I think the likes of Dario Argento took a lot of influence from him. But yeah, this is a bit of a different movie from him, sort of a Viking invasion type movie. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Considering the budget, it looks really grand in scale, and there's some terrific battle scenes in it, and great like costumes and set pieces and all sorts. It's just a really, really good movie, despite its budget, which was apparently very low. But yeah, if you like Mario Bava like I do, then definitely check out Eric the Conqueror. Next up, we've got one of the latest releases from the HMV Premium range, and it is Mr. Nice Guy starring Jackie Chan. So yeah, this was a day one purchase for me just because I am a huge Jackie Chan fan. I love all his sort of Hong Kong movies, and it was an added bonus to find out that Sammo Hung directed this movie. And yeah, this is just a lot of fun. It's basically about a news reporter who catches a sort of mafia gang commit a murder, and she catches it on videotape, and she's able to get away, but the gang give chase, and Jackie basically just plays a chef who just gets caught up in the madness, as you do. And yeah, that's literally the plot in a nutshell. But great stunts, great action sequences, some very great comedy moments. If you like sort of the 80s Jackie Chan stuff, then you'll like this one. I know this one came out in the 90s, but still a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah, that is Mr. Nice Guy. And I picked up another movie on the HMV Premium range, and that is Running on Empty, starring River Phoenix. So yeah, River Phoenix plays the son of this married couple who are anti-war activists, and prior to the events of the movie, they are basically on the run for blowing up a napalm factory during the Vietnam times. And yeah, they've been on the run ever since, but then at the same time, they've been raising a family. So you've got River Phoenix playing one of the sons, and there's also another son. And yeah, this family are just constantly on the move. They eventually settle somewhere, but then they have to move on again when the heat comes down. And yeah, when the movie starts, they basically have to move on once again, and they settle in this town. And River Phoenix's character he finally decides that he's had enough of running, because, to him, he's done nothing wrong. It's his parents are the ones who, committed the crimes, and he just wants to live a normal life. So the movie's kind of about him trying to make friends in the place they're at and trying to go to a normal school. He's also an aspiring pianist. He's got aspirations to go to Juilliard. And yeah, the movie is just a really, really powerful drama. You've got River Phoenix's character kind of at odds with his parents because they want the family to stay together, but he kind of wants to go out on his own and stop living on the run, essentially. And it's just a fantastic film, and it's probably, for me, River Phoenix's best performance. I think he was nominated for an Oscar for this movie, but he's just fantastic in it. And yeah, just a really, really great character human drama, and yeah, it's fantastic. That is Running on Empty. Next up, we have Odd Couple from Eureka. So yeah, this is a movie I had to pick up because it's another one of their releases that stars Sammo Hung. I think he's just fantastic. He's got great charisma. He always plays fun characters, and this was a real fun movie. It basically stars Sammo Hung and Lau Kar-wing, and they play aging masters who have this rivalry, and they get together every so often basically to battle it out. But at the beginning of the movie, they have a duel, but the duel ends in a draw. But not wanting it to end that way, they basically decide to go away and train some new students, and they want these students to carry on this rivalry for them. But what's unique about this film is you've got these two actors playing the roles of the aging masters, but they also play the roles of the students that are being trained. But it's done in a really fun way. So you've got like Sammo Hung's character. He plays the master, of course, but the student he trains is played by Lau Kar-wing. And then you've got Lau Kar-wing, who plays the master here, but the student he trains is played by Sammo Hung. And I think that's probably the only way that they could, at the time, play sort of dual characters, because with one actor training the other, they didn't really have to be on screen at the same time. And because this movie came out in the 70s, they probably didn't have the technology to play two characters at the same time on screen. But it's just done in such a real unique and fun way, and for that it probably stands out more amongst these sort of period Hong Kong martial arts movies. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. If you like your Hong Kong movies, your Hong Kong action movies, definitely check out Odd Couple. And finally, we have another Arrow release, and this is one that I am so glad to finally have in the collection. It's quite rare to find, but it is the Lady Snowblood 2-movie collection. So yeah, this is quite an old release from Arrow. According to the box, it says it came out in 2012. And yeah, I think this goes for quite a lot of money these days. I had a look for it on CEX online, and I found it for £25. But the closest CEX to me was Birmingham, which is probably about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive away. So I was going to order it online, but the only problem with ordering online is you have no idea what the condition is going to be like. So I kind of held off for a while. But then, as it turned out, my girlfriend Zoe had to go down to Birmingham, and I just said to her, if you get a chance, go to CEX and have a look and see if this is there. So she went down, she went to CEX, she WhatsApp called me, and she basically showed me over the phone, and I was happy with the condition of it. And it came with the booklet, all the discs and everything. And yeah, I'm just so glad to have it in the collection. Again, we've got Meiko Kaji there, and it's probably considered her most famous role. And yeah, these are a couple of just fantastic movies. The first one is kind of like your typical revenge story. The second one follows her character again, kind of being thrust into this sort of political conspiracy. But yeah, there's just some great action scenes in these, some very over-the-top violence and gore. And you can definitely tell where Tarantino got the inspiration when he made Kill Bill. Kill Bill is essentially the same type of movie as this one. But yeah, I loved this film, and again, it was because of Meiko Kaji that I wanted to watch these movies, and yeah, I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Definitely worth checking out. Like I said, this release from Arrow is quite hard to come by, but if you get a chance to see the movies, don't hesitate because they're fantastic. So that's it, guys. Those are my pickups for the month of March 2022. Really hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these movies. Tell me what you think of them. I would love to hear your thoughts. But until then, guys, I will hopefully see you all on the next one. So take care, guys.